Okay, so you know how you sent us that YouTube transcript, the one from Thewizardliz,
Yeah.
about how to become extremely seductive?
Right.
We're diving into that today.
Awesome.
And, when I first saw the title, I have to admit, I was a little bit like, is this really something we should be covering,
Yeah, I get that. It can seem a bit superficial at first glance.
Exactly. But when I actually took the time to read through the transcript, I was really surprised by how much depth there was.
Me too. It's not about like tricks or manipulation or anything like that.
No, not at all. It's really about cultivating a genuine sense of magnetism and allure.
Yeah. And it goes way deeper than just like how to dress or how to act.
It's about your inner world, your self-perception, how you interact with others.
Exactly. It's like the whole package.
So basically, we're going to be looking at this from a more holistic perspective.
Right. We're going to be extracting the real world advice on how to become more, I guess you could say, magnetic.
And we're going to be talking about how to apply this advice to your own life,
To become the best, most authentic version of yourself.
Exactly. Because that's what it's really all about, right?
Absolutely.
So where do we even begin with this?
Well, one thing that really stood out to me right away was the emphasis on authenticity.
Oh, yeah, she talks about that a lot, doesn't she?
Right from the beginning, it's like the foundation of everything else.
Which is interesting because when you think about the word seductive,
Yeah.
you don't necessarily think authenticity, do you?
Not really. You tend to think more about like trying to be someone you're not.
Yeah.
Putting on a facade.
Right, exactly. Like trying to fit into some kind of mold.
But she's saying, nope, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
Like people can smell that a mile away.
Totally. And it's so off-putting, isn't it?
It is. It's like you can sense that someone's not being genuine, and it just makes you want to run in the opposite direction.
But when someone is truly being themselves...
Oh, man, that's magnetic.
It is, because it's like they're not trying to be anyone else.
Yeah, they're just comfortable in their own skin.
And that's what makes them so attractive.
It's like they have this confidence that comes from within.
It's not arrogant or anything like that.
No, it's just genuine self-assurance.
And that's something that you can't fake.
No, you can't. It has to come from a place of, like, deep self-acceptance.
Okay, so how do you even cultivate that kind of authenticity?
Well, it starts with being honest with yourself about who you are. Like, what are your values? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? And then it's about accepting all of those parts of yourself, like the good, the bad, the ugly.
Because we all have those parts, right?
Oh, absolutely. But it's like we're so quick to judge ourselves.
Yeah.
And to compare ourselves to other people.
Yeah, that's so true. It's like we're constantly trying to be someone we're not.
And that's what leads to that inauthenticity. But when you can just accept yourself for who you are, flaws and all.
That's when the real magic happens.
Yeah. Because that's when you can start to be truly present with other people. You're not worried about putting on a show.
You're just being you.
Exactly. And that's what people are drawn to.
Okay, so we've talked about authenticity.
Right.
What else is there?
Well, she also talks a lot about self-respect.
Okay.
And she specifically connects that to the effort we put into our appearance.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Because it's not about vanity, really.
Like, it's not about trying to impress other people.
No, it's about showing up for yourself.
So it's like an act of self-love.
Exactly. It's about taking care of yourself, both physically and mentally.
Okay, so how does that translate into, like, real-world actions?
Well, she talks about things like basic hygiene, making sure you're clean and presentable.
Look a given, right?
Yeah, but it goes deeper than that. It's also about dressing in a way that makes you feel good.
Like clothes that make you feel confident and comfortable in your own skin.
Right, and it's about creating a living space that feels nurturing and supportive.
Oh, I love that. It's like your environment is a reflection of your inner state.
Exactly. So if you're living in a cluttered, chaotic space, it's probably a sign that you need to do some inner work.
But if your space is clean and organized and aesthetically pleasing,
it can really boost your mood and your self-esteem.
And it sends a message to the world that you care about yourself.
Which in turn makes you more attractive to others.
It's like if you don't respect yourself, how could you expect others to respect you?
Right. And it all starts with those small, everyday actions. Like taking a shower, getting dressed, making your bed.
It's about those little rituals that help you to feel good about yourself.
Exactly. And when you feel good about yourself, it shows.
So self-respect is key.
It really is. It's like the foundation of everything else.
Okay, so we've talked about authenticity and self-respect. What else is there?
Well, she also talks about the importance of inner beauty.
Okay, so this is getting a little more esoteric.
Maybe a little bit. But it's important because she's basically saying that true beauty comes from within.
I've heard that before.
Yeah, it's a common saying. But she really dives deep into what it means.
So what does it mean?
Well, she's saying that it's not just about your physical appearance.
Because you can be physically attractive and still be very unappealing.
Right. Like if you have a negative attitude or if you're constantly putting other people down.
That negativity just radiates outward.
Exactly. And it makes you less attractive no matter how good you look on the outside.
But if you have a positive inner state.
That's what makes you truly beautiful.
Because it shines through in everything you do.
Yeah, in your smile, in your eyes, and the way you interact with others.
Your inner light is just shining through.
Exactly. And that's what people are drawn to.
So how do you cultivate that kind of inner beauty?
Well, she talks about things like gratitude, kindness, compassion.
You know, all the good stuff.
Yeah, basically. And it's about practicing those things on a daily basis, like taking the time to appreciate the good things in your life.
And being kind to yourself and to others.
Exactly. And over time, that starts to change your inner state.
And it makes you more attractive both to yourself and to others.
Totally. Because when you feel good on the inside, it shows on the outside.
Okay, so we've talked about authenticity, self-respect, and inner beauty.
Right.
And those are all really important qualities.
Yeah.
But there's another quality that she talks about that I think is really interesting.
What's that?
The power of knowing when to walk away.
Oh, yeah. That's a big one.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's not something that you hear about very often, is it?
No, not really. But it's so important.
Because it's about having strong boundaries.
And self-respect.
Exactly. It's about knowing your worth.
And not settling for anything less.
So, like, if you're in a situation that's not serving you.
You have the right to walk away.
And it's not selfish or anything like that.
Well, no, it's actually the opposite.
Because you're putting your own well-being first.
Which is what you need to do in order to be truly happy and fulfilled.
And that's what makes you attractive to others.
Because it shows that you're not desperate.
You're not needy.
You're not clingy.
You're just confident in yourself and in your own ability to create a good life for yourself.
Yeah, and that's a very attractive quality.
It really is.
Yeah.
So how do you know when it's time to walk away from a situation?
Well, she talks about listening to your intuition.
That gut feeling.
Yeah, because your intuition is usually right.
Even if it doesn't make sense logically.
Exactly. So if you're getting a bad feeling about something or someone...
Trust your gut.
Yeah.
Walk away.
Because it's probably not worth your time and energy.
And you deserve better.
Okay, so we've talked about knowing when to walk away.
Right.
What else?
Well, she also talks about the difference between attracting and chasing.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah, this is a good one. So basically, she's saying that desperation is a huge turnoff.
I mean, that makes sense.
Right. It's like if you're constantly chasing after someone or something, it shows that you don't believe you're worthy of receiving it.
It's like you're coming from a place of lack. Exactly. And that's not attractive.
But when you come from a place of abundance,
when you believe that you're worthy of receiving good things,
that's when you start attracting them into your life.
Because you're not putting all your energy into chasing.
You're just focusing on being your best self.
And living your best life.
And that's what makes you magnetic.
Yeah, it's like you're not even trying and people are just drawn to you.
Because you're radiating this energy of confidence and self-assurance.
Exactly. And that's what makes the difference between attracting and chasing.
Okay, so we've talked about not being desperate. What else?
Well, she also talks about the importance of focusing on yourself.
That sounds a little self-centered.
It can be if you're not careful. But she's not talking about being selfish or narcissistic.
What is she talking about?
She's talking about prioritizing your own growth and development.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah. It's about investing in yourself, both physically and mentally.
Because when you focus on becoming the best version of yourself,
you naturally become more attractive to others.
Because you're radiating this energy of self-love and self-acceptance.
Exactly. And you're not as focused on trying to impress other people.
You're just content with who you are.
And that's what makes you magnetic.
Okay, so we've talked about focusing on ourselves.
Right.
What else?
Well, she also talks about the importance of celebrating yourself.
That sounds fun.
It is. It's about acknowledging your accomplishments, no matter how small.
Like giving yourself a pat on the back.
Exactly. And it's about appreciating your unique qualities.
The things that make you special.
Right. Because when you celebrate yourself, you're basically telling the world, hey, I'm awesome.
And that's a very attractive quality.
It is. It shows that you're confident and self-assured.
And it makes people want to be around you.
Because they want to soak up some of that positive energy.
So how do you celebrate yourself?
Well, she talks about things like treating yourself to something nice, you know?
Like a massage or a new outfit.
Exactly. And it's about spending time doing things that you enjoy.
Like hobbies or activities that make you feel good.
Right. And it's also about surrounding yourself with people who support you and make you feel good about yourself.
Because when you're surrounded by positive people,
It's easier to celebrate yourself.
because you feel loved and accepted for who you are.
Exactly. And that's what makes all the difference.
Okay, so we've talked about celebrating ourselves.
Right.
What else?
Well, she also talks about the importance of taking up space.
Okay, what does that mean?
Well, she's basically saying that you shouldn't be afraid to be seen and heard.
Like to stand out from the crowd.
Exactly. Because when you try to blend in, you're actually doing yourself a disservice.
Because you're hiding your unique qualities,
And your unique energy.
which are the very things that make you attractive to others,
Right. So it's about owning your presence.
and letting your light shine.
Exactly. Because when you do that, you become magnetic.
People are naturally drawn to you,
Because you're not afraid to be yourself.
and that's what makes all the difference.
Okay, so we've talked about taking up space.
Right.
What else?
Well, she also talks about the importance of living a life of purpose.
Okay, so what does that mean?
Well, it's about figuring out what your gifts are.
Your talents.
Yeah, and then using them to make a positive impact on the world.
So it's about finding your passion.
And then pursuing it with everything you've got.
Because when you're living a life of purpose,
You're naturally more attractive to others.
because you're radiating this energy of passion and fulfillment,
It's like you're living your best life.
and that's contagious.
People want to be around you because they want to feel that same sense of purpose and fulfillment.
Exactly. So how do you find your purpose?
Well, it's different for everyone.
But she talks about things like listening to your intuition.
Again, with the intuition.
Yeah, it's important. Because your intuition can guide you towards the things that are meant for you.
And she also talks about experimenting.
Trying different things until you find something that lights you up.
Because when you're doing something that you love,
It doesn't feel like work.
it feels like play.
And that's when you know you found your purpose.
Okay, so we've talked about living a life of purpose.
Right.
Anything else?
Well, she also touches on a few other important points.
Like what?
Like the importance of basic manners.
Oh, yeah, those are always good.
And assertiveness.
Especially for women.
Yeah, because women are often taught to be passive and accommodating.
But she's saying, no, you need to stand up for yourself.
And set boundaries.
Because when you do that,
You're showing the world that you respect yourself.
and that you're not going to let anyone walk all over you.
And that's a very attractive quality.
It is.
She also talks about the importance of trusting your intuition.
We've talked about that already, haven't we?
Yeah, but it's worth repeating.
Because it's so important.
It really is.
And she also talks about the importance of letting go of the savior complex.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
It is. And it's something that a lot of people struggle with.
Because we want to help people.
And we want to fix their problems.
But she's saying, no, you can't save everyone.
And it's not your job to try.
Because when you try to save people who don't want to be saved,
You end up draining yourself.
then you end up resentful.
And it doesn't help the other person either.
So it's better to just focus on yourself.
And let other people figure out their own stuff.
Exactly. And finally, she talks about the importance of allowing yourself to be helped.
Okay, so what does that mean?
Well, it means that you don't have to do everything yourself.
It's okay to ask for help.
Yeah, and it's okay to accept help when it's offered.
Because we all need help sometime.
I mean, it doesn't make you weak or incapable.
It actually makes you stronger.
Because it shows that you're humble enough to admit that you don't have all the answers.
And that you're willing to let other people support you.
Which is a very attractive quality.
It really is.
So, yeah, that's pretty much everything.
Wow, that was a lot.
I know, right? But it's all really good stuff.
It is. And I think it's important to remember that none of this is about manipulation or trying to be someone you're not.
No, it's not.
It's about cultivating your own authentic sense of magnetism and allure.
By focusing on your inner world and your own personal growth.
And by allowing your true self to shine through.
Exactly. Because that's what makes you truly irresistible.
So for you, our listener, here's a final thought to ponder.
Okay.
Think about one area we've discussed today where you might be holding back your true self.
Or neglecting your own needs.
What's one small step you could take this week to shift that?
We encourage you to continue exploring these ideas and embarking on your own unique journey of self-discovery.
Thanks for diving deep with us.
Until our next exploration.
See ya.